Hello everyone, I'm T.R. Fuentes McKenzie, and you're listening to the Edible Origins Podcast, where we explore the roots of our local food system and celebrate the farmers, ranchers, chefs, and communities that nourish us. Today I'm chatting with Chef Sanaa Abourekz. Sanaa, thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
It's absolutely my pleasure.
So Sanaa, we're going to start this podcast with everyone answering the same question, which is, what is your food origin story? What are your first memories of food growing up?
It's actually my grandmother making bread in a small village on the Mediterranean, because they make it in a special in-ground oven made from clay, and the smell, it's wonderful. And then the noise, it's a neighborhood oven. So it's 5 ladies making the bread. So at 5 o'clock in the morning, you hear the talk and the food. So the whole experience is what made me want to cook.
Sure. And besides the bread, what else would these women and your mothers and grandmothers be serving?
So they make the za'atar manaish. It's like I said, it's almost like a how do you say it? Like what you make the wine in it, big tub, long one. So the wall is hot. So they make the za'atar, mix herbs, and they stick it on the wall. They make the bread, stick it on the wall, and then with cheese and harissa, pepper. And then when you take it out, they put it to cool down. And then when you're a child, they say, take it, and you take one. So that's main, and then with the Swiss chard, varieties. But for me, it's just, like I said, it's not only the food, but listening to the lady, the conversation, watching their faces. I love it.
And those conversations that went around that food, what would those women be talking about?
Their husband, their kids, their neighbors. But it's like your best psychiatrist session, I swear to God, because, she would say, oh, my husband yesterday, he did this and this. And the other lady would say, oh, you should see what my husband did, or my kid. By the time they finish, they're laughing, they're clacking, and then they go home and loving their husband or their kids.
And then after preparing all this food, what would the actual dinner look like? Would it be neighbors sitting around a table? Would it be neighbors sitting around a floor? What would it look like?
So for my family, at my parents and my sibling, we grew up in Damascus, so we go summertime to the village, and that's how when I see them. My grandparents will eat on the floor, so it's a table. It's about 1 foot high and round, and then we sit around it. We sit on the floor around it, and they have the bread, fresh bread in the middle, and then you have cheese, you have vegetables, you have dishes made with meat, you have bulgur pilaf, you have a rice pilaf, all this stuff, and always olives and fresh tomatoes. Up to now, for me, olives, fresh tomatoes, they always on my table. And then you just grab everybody say, oh, grab a loaf of bread. So everybody grab a loaf of bread, you hold it with your hand, and then we take a piece and we use the bread to scoop. So your fingers that never touch the food. You just use it you become experienced at it. And you eat, and then you grab a cucumber, a tomato, and you visit. And we finish eating, but we stay visiting for in Mediterranean, eating is a pleasure event. You're not eating to get to stop your body. No, you're eating to enjoy the conversation, the food, the smell, everything.
That sounds quite a bit different than myself growing up in Sioux City, Iowa, as someone who grew up in the Midwest. So going from Syria, and then you eventually, through Washington, D.C. and Los Angeles, you end up here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, moving forward to, let's say, 20 years ago, I believe, when you opened the restaurant.
Yes.
Can you tell me about opening the restaurant 20 years ago here in Sioux Falls? Someone who is from Syria, and you come to the Midwest, which we're known for meats and potatoes and casserole or hot dish, or all of these things.
Mayonnaise.
And mayonnaise and
bacon.
So
ham.
Tell me a little bit about. I know you've talked about in the past about your apprehensions about opening a restaurant in the Midwest, but you did it anyway. How did that all come together?
Well, actually, when we moved to South Dakota, we moved first to Rapid City, and that's when, like I said, I love people. I love the conversation. My favorite activity when we travel is actually people watching and see what they're eating, what they're thinking, or why, the expression. So my husband bought a house by Mount Rushmore. And, there's always an incident that the blessing in disguise, and I absolutely hate it. It's scenery, beautiful, but there's no people. So my husband came one time and found me crying, and I, anyway, so he said, why don't you cook? You like to cook. So I started doing my cookbook. And that's how the whole idea switched from being a dietitian and engineer to a chef. And then somebody suggested, he had a law office upstairs here in this building, and there was nothing here. So I came on him a couple of times to visit him, and we did the fundraising dinner for a political event. One of the guests was the owner of this building, and she was desperately trying to attract people to this area. We're talking 22 years ago. And there's like broken glass, there's no floor. I love the ceilings. It's a very solid building. So she said, she enjoyed our dinner, and she said, would you be interested to open a restaurant? And I thought, wow, intriguing. But that's how I put the idea in my brain. And my husband said, you love to cook. Many steps. I took her offer, took up her offer, how do you say it?
Yes.
And all my friends, everybody said, they gave me, including the banks, they gave me 9 months. And Jim co-signed the loan because they wouldn't give me a loan. Because I told them, it was naive of me. I went to the guy and asked, I want to open a vegetarian place in South Dakota. It was like, really? No, I said, no frying, no burgers, no fries. And then, so my husband had to co-sign my loan. Anyway, and he said he expected me to not make it 9 months, but he just wanted me to get it out of my system. That was 22 years ago.
So walk me through those first 9 months of being open. What was that like?
Well, first, we had people come out of curiosity. We had Jim's friend, of course, and Jim, my husband, loved food, and his friend loved food. So they would eat anything, but they loved the sauces, they loved the stew, they loved the fresh bread. So I started making soups to lure American, and then I'll explain things to them, and we start adding more dishes, and a lot of people will walk in like this. Do you have French fries? No. Do you have a hamburger? No. Do you have potato chips? No. Well, what am I going to eat? And they say, okay, try this one. And they will eat and say, hell, if I knew vegetarian food tastes like this, I'll eat like this all the time. Because they thought it's steamed broccoli. They didn't realize all the spices, all the herbs, all the fresh bread we made. And little by little, they became my regular, and the regular brought regular. And for me, I go up in the back and say, even if it's going to kill me, no way, I'm going to prove everybody wrong, including the banker, everybody. So I work double. I would do dishes, change every day, Anyway, I paid my loan 2 years earlier. Because I had a 5 years loan, I paid it in 3 years, just to prove them wrong.
Well, I definitely think you've made a splash here in Sioux Falls over the last few years. You're really a pillar of the culinary community here, and I know many chefs that look up to you and are inspired by you and your story.
Thank you.
Moving on to a different question here. You've been in business 22 years, a chef here in Sioux Falls 22 years. How has the food scene, the local food scene, changed in the last 20 years for you?
Oh, it changed like almost 180 degrees, because when part of the reason I invited people home, because Jim, my husband, was vegetarian, and we raised our kid as a vegetarian. So, unless you're having, even when we go eat a salad or a soup, we say, please no meat. And I don't like meat. I'm not vegetarian, but I just don't like the smell of meat. So, I know it's weird as a chef, but, and then but I have good sense of smell. So the minute they bring the dish, I can smell in the broth. And I say, well, sure, no meat? And say, well, it's a beef broth or a ham or some bacon bits in the salad or something. I say, no. So that's how I wanted to do here, strictly, no added stuff. And now, so when we used to go out, we used to go eat, like for Alia, my daughter, she would say, okay, we'll take the chicken Caesar sandwich, we'll pay full price, but don't put the chicken. Same thing for my husband. We'll order Reuben sandwich, I'll pay full price, but don't put the meat. Sometimes what they do, they bring the whole thing and the meat on the side. And my husband said, no. And now it's, when you say you're vegan or you're vegetarian or you say you're gluten sensitive, I think you can find option anywhere.
Yeah, I think that's definitely changed about this local food scene. I also think growing up too, there were less local farms. I feel like there's a lot more local farms and there's a lot more ranches trying to sell more ranch to table.
Absolutely, yes. I mean, now we had, at the beginning, I used to plant all my cucumbers, all my tomato, a lot of my herbs. And honestly, the last 5 years, I plant just few plants for my own use, my home use, because like you said, we have wonderful farmers, young farmers, very excited, and like one of them planting fava bean for me, which is not Midwestern crops. They're having the Armenian cucumbers, the baby eggplant. So they are willing, they're curious, and they are willing to plant something new, so they learn about it. So same thing with for organic chicken, free range chicken. I think the options now getting more and more almost unlimited. I mean, anything that we can, with the weather-wise. I mean, of course, there is stuff we cannot plant, but they're trying. I mean, during the winter, I have fresh arugula during the winters. I have now tomato slicers, sliced tomato, how to say it? Tomato slicer, right?
Tomato slices, yeah.
They're fantastic. So they have the greenhouse, so absolutely, especially South Dakota.
How do you think that benefits the community and the consumers that come into your restaurant with all of these new options that we have and people caring about animal welfare and whether something's organic or not, whether something's regeneratively grown? If you could explain to the community why that's important to you, for them, and for yourself as a chef.
Well, it should be important for everyone, because at the end, it's not something to do with being an environmentalist. Unfortunately, now it has a bad political things, but we have to think that this is for my kid, for my grandkids. So the more food local we use, the less carbon we're spending, the less shipping we're spending. And we know that, I'm buying it from Chef Mackenzie, he's next door neighbors. So I'm helping my neighbors. Also, there is, like I said, less carbon, so they're not shipping. Another thing is organic. That means we're already getting so much chemical in the processed food. Even the French fries you're having at some stores already have stuff. So when you go to the neighbors and you tell him, I need 5 pounds of tomatoes, and he just grab them and give them to you, and he didn't use pesticide or insecticide, you're already doing a favor to your body. And then you're saving the earth, because he's not using all this chemical that's killing all the life organs that are going to make the food good, they make the earth good. Because at the end, we all share the land. So I don't care how rich or poor you are, we are going to smell the same air, we're going to eat the same vegetables. So if my kid doing good, your kid's doing good. So we all doing good.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I really admire about you is your courage. You had the courage to open a Syrian American restaurant here in Sioux Falls 22 years ago, but also the courage to speak out about certain social and political and environmental issues that are happening throughout the day. And we all know that you've done dinners for different charities, World Food Kitchen, trying to feed the children in Gaza. We've done a charity event together helping the farmers when there was flooding last year. Talk to me how that's important to you and how that also keeps you going as a chef.
Well, we have a saying in our culture. It said, I'm going to say it in Arabic, if your neighbor doing good, you are doing good. Because at the end, like I said, we share the same air every day. My parents they love people, and I think that's why I love people, and they love helping others. My father would say, you end up coming to America or going to school by accident, because I worked hard and I was able to do. When you see the beggar outside, or he just didn't have the same opportunity. So you're not better than them, it's just an accident. So that's always stuck in my head, and I hope I told that to my daughter too. So, and hunger is my issue, because my dad grew up poor. So it's so important for me, and I think for America, the richest country in the world, where you have people making $500 million salary a year, to have 1 out of 3 kids in America go to bed hungry, it shouldn't be acceptable to no one. No one. I mean, I think it's a shameful thing. So I try to do my part. I wish I can do more, but this is a very important issue for us. It should not be, no kids in the world should be suffered because of his religion, his language, his race. These are the future of the world. Whether we like it or not, whether they are Muslim, Buddhist, Christian, Jewish. When I die, you die, they're the one who's going to build the earth and help everything. So we have to make sure we are helping everybody around the world. At least that's how I feel.
Speaking of children and young people being 100% of the future, what would you say as a mentor chef to young people and young chefs that are coming up through our industry, and just young people in the community? What is your advice to them on pursuing a food career or helping to continue to grow the local food movement?
This might not make me very popular. It made me sad when I meet a new chef and all what he's thinking is high-end food, expensive meals. I think the future of the food industry, the way I see it for the young kids, because they're more alert, they're more conscious of the environment, is going to be more using local ingredients, using old recipes, grains that grown locally. So I hope for everybody who's starting to be a chef to at least consider working for a while in a local restaurant who serve local food, local ingredients, not expensive, something everybody can afford. I think this is more pleasurable, in my opinion, than to serve a dish that costs, they charge sometimes $500 in New York, and you're split, and everything, and smoke and all this stuff again. And with all respect to all the chefs, but this shouldn't be the goal. The goal should be to cook fresh and to healthy and enjoy it. Because at the end, even if you make 200 million and you're miserable.
Yeah, what is the point then, right?
Yeah.
For myself too, I think the most important thing is to make sure that I show good hospitality and that the food is something that's nourishing and also obviously tastes good, because that's what people are looking for.
Absolutely. You come. It's like you're coming home. For me, it's like you're coming to my home.
Sanaa, you've been recently in the last couple of years nominated for Best Chef Midwest by the James Beard Foundation. What was all of that like? Was that a surprise? Was that something that you ever thought you would get to when you opened the restaurant 20 years ago? Or what are your feelings on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was very happily surprised. It was quite a surprise. For 2 years, we made finalists, and then last year semi-finalist. For me, I was happy because that means they're considering coming to the Midwest. And this year we have also another chef, local chef. So that by itself was like a huge step, because for us, we were like the flyover zone, like nobody will go find food. But for them to acknowledge this, that's fantastic. But also, since I'm not a high-end restaurant, I don't have a server, I don't do, and for them to acknowledge that, even for me, I felt like it's about time. So, and I hope that they go to every small restaurant in these small towns and they acknowledge their work.
Yeah, I think that you and Marcella being the other chef nominated, I think it was a really big deal. One, just being two women of color and trailblazers in your own right was super important for Sioux Falls. I definitely don't think we're flyover country anymore in terms of food. Nope. We have great food to offer. And speaking of that, Sanaa, you and I are going to be doing a dinner here coming up on June 29th.
So everybody, I haven't done dinner for now almost 4 years. So, and I keep talking about the famous Syrian Lebanese mezza, which is appetizers. So we're going to have an appetizers. We're going to do it 20 people, private dinner. You and I are going to work. We're having the Syrian Lebanese mezza. Well, I'm Syrian, my husband Lebanese, so if I don't mention Lebanese, I can't get his soul shake me. So Syrian Lebanese, appetizers, then we have salad, then we have very unique main dishes, fantastic dessert, and then I'm still figuring out a very unique drink. A very intimate dinner, and you better sign up fast because the tickets are going fast.
It's very true. Well, Sanaa, I just want to say thank you for chatting with me today. This is our first podcast. It was a lot less nervousness here just speaking with my friend Sanaa. One last question, which is there a question that you wish I would have asked you today, or is there a message to the community that you'd like to share?
Well, one message I would say is that chef can play a huge role in chefs can play a huge role in saving agriculture, saving environment, because you have the planting, you have scientists who's working on the ground, on the earth and everything, and then you have the chef who can utilize the ingredients. So together, we can keep our earth healthy.
Well, again, Sanaa, thank you for joining us today. And we appreciate you listening to the Edible Origins podcast. Stay connected with us and join the conversation. Share your thoughts, ask questions, and be a part of our growing community. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. Until next time. Thank you, Sioux Falls community.
Thank you.